Steven, lots of news in the prospect world over the last 24 hours, but let's start with Gavin McKenna. It was at the point where he was kind of just looking too good for the CHL. How do you think his game adjusts over to the NCAA? Is he going to be just as dominant?
Yeah, like Kobe was talking about it a few minutes ago, and you look at the fact that if he went back to the WHL, he would have put up 190, 200 points easily. And the Medicine Hat's still going to be a good team next year. So, I think going to college was the right move here. Going to Penn State, a team that's clearly putting a lot of money behind their program, trying to be such a competitive team with such a really good class coming in, guys like Jackson Smith and Luke Misa and Charlie Serrato, and like just a ton of talented players there. So I think with him, I do expect him to put up numbers maybe similar to what we saw from Macklin Celebrini. It's going to be a bit of a different jump for him. But when you look at McKenna, maybe not the strongest player we've ever seen in the world, but at the same time, he's got the skill. He's so smart. He can outthink people. So I have no question about it that he's going to go out there and be able to dominate the NCAA and be one of the best players in the league.
I think one of the big differences between him and Celebrini would just be that Celebrini played in the USHL, which is, a heavier, more similar to the college game type of league, which is kind of how it's developed over the years. And my question for you, Steven, would be, because I do agree offensively, I think he'll put up Celebrini type of numbers. I think he'll be very capable of that. I think Penn State plays a very high-flying offensive game. They're in transition. They're up and down the ice. And there's other good players around him at Penn State. But let's just say he starts off and he struggles, okay? Do you think that will deter other CHL guys from making the jump and coming to the NCAA? Because we really do always say it's a copycat league. It's a copycat sport. And I just wonder what kind of ramifications we think it could have if, let's say, he comes out and, he isn't just lighting it up from the first second he steps into the NCAA.
Yeah, honestly, that's a great question. I don't think so, because you still look at the benefits, and a lot of it is, they don't play as many games as you play in the CHL, but you're still playing a ton of games, and you're still playing against older, tougher competition. And I think that alone is going to be something that's very beneficial. And the one name that always kind of comes to mind, actually two names that come to mind when I think about players that benefited a lot from going the college route, were Lane Hudson and Cole Caulfield, two Montreal Canadiens players. With Cole Caulfield, a lot of people said, like, oh yeah, he could do those dazzling plays and with the program, but was he going to be able to pull that off against tougher competition? Well, he spent a lot of time in the weight room. And then you look at Lane Hudson, he grew, he became much more difficult to play against, and we just saw the season he had. So I think the benefits of going out there, and even if you're not dominating to the point of what we saw from Macklin Celebrini, much different player, obviously, than Gavin McKenna.
Yeah.
You're still looking at the fact that you're gaining the physical elements, you're playing against tougher competition, and you're pushing yourself to a level that you're not doing when you're going up and beating up on some of these smaller junior programs.
Yeah. Well, let's stay with the college theme and the prospect theme here, Steven, because I want to ask you your opinion about what we saw with Isaac Howard and Sam O'Reilly. And full transparency, I've seen Isaac Howard play a number of times. I have not studied the film. I have not seen Sam O'Reilly's game. I am unfamiliar with anything but what he did as far as the stats go with the London Knights. And I don't know if you heard what I talked about with Tyler off the top when we talked about this, kind of getting an older prospect that's closer to what you think he can become. Where do you sit with this trade? Do you like it for one more than the other? Do you think it's a wash? Or, what does our prospect expert Stephen Ellis think?
I like it for both teams and for different reasons. I think when you look at, Howard fits a more immediate need for that team, some scoring help. I don't know if he's going to go out there and put up a ton of points next year. Like, I think the thing that stands out about his game and has been an issue maybe since his NTDP days is his play away from the puck, is that he's not always engaged. He's not always the one going out there and chasing the puck and making things happen. But then you see the numbers, and clearly he knows what to do with the puck. Clearly he knows how to dominate on the power play. And for me, it was, you always had to find the right balance. You had to give him a great centerman to kind of figure it out. He's got options in Edmonton, and I feel like that is a good fit for him. I think he's going to be a very valuable player. If I had to guess who would be the more impactful guy, I would have to maybe say there's a bit of it me kind of pointing towards Sam O'Reilly. I'm not saying he's going to have more points than Isaac Howard. I think Howard will be the better offensive player, but Sam O'Reilly is more of this all-around two-way threat. And again, kind of going back to just bringing back Celebrini, you look at him compared to Bedard or you compared to McKenna, and those guys are more offensively skilled and will probably be the guys putting up more points in the future. But then you look at Celebrini, and he thinks the game at such a high level. And that's what I see, obviously not to the level of Celebrini, but the way that Sam O'Reilly thinks the game. Like, I think he's going to be a very good two-way center who loves having the puck on his stick, is very difficult to take the puck off of. And yeah, so like Howard's more of a top six guy. I think O'Reilly's a third line guy, but they're both going to be good at those specific roles that I think no matter what way you look at it, you're happy for both teams.
Last one I got for you over at dailyfaceoff.com. Your big summer series is going through every team's prospect pool. And, one team that I think is obviously fascinating and has really rocketed up, I would assume rocketed up your rankings, is a team like the Islanders, right? Cal Ritchie, they get at the deadline, not only Schaefer, but the two other first round picks in Eklund and Atchison. Again, they did a good job, I think, in the last 6 months of kind of at least adding some names to the list. Are there any other teams out there who you've really liked what they've done maybe in the last year in terms of adding pieces to their prospect pool?
It's definitely the Boston Bruins. That's the one that comes to mind first. You look at adding James Hagens at number 7. That's going to look like a steal 10 years from now, 100%. I think Fraser Minton is like a perfect third-line center for that team. I think he's going to be a really good piece there. The jury's kind of still out about Fabian Lysell, if he's going to make it work. But one name I'd like to mention is actually Danslock Mellis, a guy that I was pretty high on when he was drafted in the 4th round out of Latvia a couple years ago. He had this really explosive year at UMass this year away. Like, he was always kind of projected more of a defensive forward, but he showed this offensive potential in the way that he was able to dominate the puck in a way that I don't think anyone expected. And it wasn't just doing that at the college level. He was Latvia's best player at the World Championship. And honestly, like, he was never going to come close to getting an MVP, but I don't think if Latvia made the playoffs and went far, he would have been the reason why. So Boston's a much more dangerous pipeline than they were a year ago. Like, Boston and the Islanders were like right at the bottom. Both of them have moved up big time in the last couple of weeks.
Steven, appreciate your time. You can read his prospect pool breakdowns over on dailyfaceoff.com. We'll chat with you soon.
Thanks so much.